accumulates and accelerates. So I don't know what stage of mind control our government is using now. But they're obviously into experimentation with mind control, different electromagnetic frequencies. They get a whole list of things they were experimenting with. Example, illusion of choice, social engineering, false trust, subliminal messaging. These are all titles that were in a report on governmental experimentation and mind manipulation.
I think something is going on. We're going to have to go to break. I'm going to put you on hold. So we're going to be back in about 3 minutes. So, Steve, if you want to get yourself a cup of Java and, get back to the chair.
That sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
I'll run and get something.
I'm going to put you on hold. Okay.
All right.
So that makes me wonder what is actually going on with our government. For every little bit of disclosure they give, they come back in a very short period of time and either come back with something to make it like, it's not true. And this has been going on for years. So every time you see something where you think there's going to be disclosure, then you got disinformation floating right behind it. Anyway, we're going to be right back in about 3 minutes. So, stay tuned. Tell your friends about Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with me, Gary, and we'll be right back.
Dreams Talk Radio Network. From our compound to you worldwide. With your host, Gary Anderson.
If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. And thank you. Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, hi, everybody. This is Gary on Night Dreams Talk Radio. We're going to get back to Steve. We're talking about, well, conspiracies, UFOs, aliens. Do they really exist? Are you there, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I hope you got a good cup of Java. I got my tea right now. Right.
Yeah, I did. I got a soda.
Okay. Soda is bad for you. You know, I've been drinking Coke since I was a little kid. The hardest thing is when the doctor, suggested I lose weight, which I lost 45 pounds in less than a month. But you know what? The hard part was stopping drinking soda and switching over to drinking tea. But after about 3 days, it was easy.
Yeah, I've pretty much done that. I just grabbed one now because it was handy, and it's a diet soda, but that's no better, I guess.
According to my doctor, it's probably worse. But, I think about how the government has really backed itself into a major lie. Propaganda. We think about, like, Germany during World War II, Russia or the Soviet Union was really good at propaganda. And I think, what happened in Roswell, when they first admitted there was a UFO crash, and then they quickly changed it to a weather balloon. It seems like ever since then, we've been in a fog, and the government has lied one step all the way to now. So I really find it very hard for them to come back and all of a sudden say, aliens do exist, or we're working with aliens, and maybe that UFO you saw maybe wasn't one of ours.
You mean the UFO I saw, or are you talking about people in general?
People in general.
Yeah. Where this all begins and where it's going, it's really hard to assess, because it seems we were into secret societies and secret endeavors and secret inventions well into the past century. Well, I mean, down through history, actually, if you're talking about secret societies. But we know there were secret invention organizations, and they may have been involved what is known as the airship mysteries back in the late 1890s, where they were seeing these airships all over the country, and they were doing very quizzical things, but they appeared to be pretty much just like your typical dirigible type airships, and some of them even landed and said, "Yeah, we're inventors. That's us." And I believe I wrote an article where there was some companies involved. I think one was an aluminum company. I'm not sure, but they were sponsoring a lot of these airships, or claimed to, and it kind of struck a bell back in my mind that a lot of this stuff is not recent. We were perfecting aircraft and things into the last century, and just keeping it very secret. Maybe eventually it's led into different theories. I think I mentioned you the big inventor Tesla.
Oh yeah.
He had an interview at a newspaper in the early part of the century where he was talking about coming out with a special aircraft run by a special energy, and they were saying, "Well, what is it?" He says, "I can't divulge it now." He said, "But you'll learn about it soon enough." And it wasn't a newspaper. I'm not sure what newspaper it was or state. I don't have it in front of me. But it just kind of highlights that maybe there was an alternate society. I think Peter Levenda and Richard Doyle and some of the other investigators have kind of phrased it as a breakaway civilization that exists right alongside of our own. It was so much more advanced than the average workaday citizen, but they pretty much were in control. And it kind of the elites of society pretty much think along that line. If you remember, Hitler was working on some very special aircraft. I think one of the phrases he used was circle wing aircraft, but they seemed typical UFOs, and they were flying. In fact, I think Hitler. There's a story that Hitler may have shot some astronauts into space. They probably didn't survive, but they made an attempt to do that. Part of the legends, and they were advancing into their own secret inventions. They had a number of them. In fact, they were planning to have a bomber come over and bomb New York with atomic bombs. Once they had that developed, so we just wonder, where does one thing begin and the other end? What do you think about the idea of having there's existing a breakaway civilization alongside of our own?
I think it is very possible. It could be even in a multi-universe. Or, I get a lot of people now claiming that we're in a matrix. We're in a civilization. We're in a game, basically. I don't think I really buy that one, but I mean, some of the top physicists is starting to say that.
Yeah, and it would seem that somewhere along the line, now Roswell wasn't the only claim of a crashed UFO. I think in the Black Forest, the Germans discovered a crashed UFO. Somewhere along the line, some kind of an alliance would seem between the power that's behind the UFOs, the true power, whether it's metaphysical or ultra-terrestrial, and some of the elites of this globe have gotten together in their science. They either learned something from the UFO reality and somehow joined in a mutual scientific endeavor. I don't know, science fiction can be very accurate. It seems like whatever we write in science fiction eventually comes true to one form or another.
Oh, yeah. That is so true because, I guess, even going back, to Gene Roddenberry, coming up with ideas of, traveling in space and all that stuff, it's not far-fetched. And here we're talking about putting a man or people on the Mars. We're, talking about going back to the moon. Something it happened 2 weeks ago, and it really got me thinking, the black hole. We have never seen any images of a black hole where something actually came out of it. And then 2 weeks ago, they have an image of an object coming out of a black hole. And I started thinking maybe that's how they get from point A to point B. I don't know. It's so many, it's just like if you think about God, you can go crazy trying to think of, does God really exist and what created God? The UFO thing is pretty much the same thing. Except, you'd have to be really naive, Steve, to think that we are the only humanoids out there and we're the only planet that has life on it like what we have. I can't buy that.
Well, the only thing is our whole concepts about the UFOs now, we think of the typical UFO not coming here from distant galaxies and visiting us. Actually, if they have the capability of doing that, they wouldn't be using spaceships because they couldn't travel. They couldn't in a typical imagined spacecraft wouldn't be necessary. It wouldn't even be possible to travel those fast distances. It would be more like thought travel. You think of being we'd have it. Isn't there a quantum physics principle where locationality? I'm trying to think of the scientific term, where they see what happens to one atom on one side of the hemisphere also happens to another atom instantaneously. On the other